I came to give my mom's ring back. That's what the 10-year-old girl said when she walked into the most dangerous building in Seoul. She stood in front of the reception desk, rain dripping from her yellow coat, holding out a small gold ring to strangers who had no idea what to do with her. The receptionist stared. "Who's your mom?" "She's dead," the girl said simply. "But before she died, she told me to find the man whose name sounds like thunder and return this. She said he'd understand." Nobody understood. Not yet. Not until the ring reached the top floor. Not until Korea's most feared mafia boss held it in his hands and read the engraving inside. Not until he looked at this little black girl with cornrows and yellow beads and realized she wasn't just returning a ring. She was returning a piece of his heart he didn't know was missing. And the truth she carried was about to break him in ways 20 years of violence never could. This is that story. The lobby of the Jong Tower smelled like cold marble and money. Every person who worked there had been trained to handle difficult situations quietly. Corporate rivals, angry politicians, journalists looking for dirt. The two women behind the reception desk had seen it all, but they hadn't seen this. The little girl was maybe 10 years old, her cornrows decorated with bright yellow beads that clicked when she moved her head. Her sneakers squeaked on the polished floor as she marched straight to them. "I need to see the boss," she said in broken Korean. Her accent was thick, her words careful like she'd practiced them 100 times. The receptionist on the left, Yuna, blinked twice. "Excuse me?" "The man in charge, the boss. I have something that belongs to him." The girl held up her small fist. "My mama said I have to give it back." Yuna looked at her coworker. Her coworker looked back. Neither of them knew what to do with this. "What's your name?" Yuna asked, switching to English because the child's Korean was struggling. "Ayo," the girl said, relieved to speak English. "Ayo Mirai Adayemi. My mama was Zuena Mbele. She died 3 weeks ago. Before she died, she told me to bring this to the man whose name sounds like thunder." She opened her fist. In her palm sat a small gold ring. Yuna's hand moved toward the phone under the desk. This was about to become very interesting. The message went up the chain faster than lightning. A foreign child in the lobby, asking for Chairman Jong. Says her mother just died. Says she has something that belongs to him. Gave her mother's name as Zuena Mbele. The last name hit Kim Do-hwan like a truck. He'd worked for Jong Taiwan for 22 years. He knew things. Secret things. Buried things. Things that were supposed to stay in the past where they belonged. And Zuena Mbele was one of those things. He walked down the hall. His shoes made no sound. He knocked on the door at the end. "Come in." Jong Taiwan sat behind his desk like a king on a throne. Except, he didn't need the drama. He was 52 years old, and looked like he'd never smiled in his life. His hair was black with silver edges. His eyes were the kind that saw through lies before you even told them. "We have a situation," Do-hwan said. Taiwan didn't look up from his papers. "Fix it. There's a child downstairs. Foreign. She says her mother died. She says she has something that belongs to you. Tell her she's mistaken. Send her away with a gift card or whatever we do for confused visitors. Her mother's name was Zuena Mbele." The pen in Taiwan's hand stopped moving. The room went quiet. Outside the window, Seoul stretched out gray and wet under the rain. A full minute passed, maybe 2. "Bring her up," Taiwan said. His voice sounded like gravel. Ayo sat in a chair that was too big for her. Her feet didn't touch the ground. She held her backpack on her lap with both hands, looking around the office like she was taking notes for a test later. Taiwan stood by the window, looking at her. Really looking. She had Zuena's eyes, the same shape, the same way of looking at things directly without flinching. Her skin was a few shades darker than he remembered Zuena's being. Her hair was braided tight against her scalp, with those yellow beads at the ends. She wore jeans and a sweatshirt that said Lagos Forever across the front. You don't have any pictures in here, she said. That was the first thing out of her mouth. Not hello, not thank you for seeing me. Just an observation delivered like a fact. Most offices don't, Tae-won said. He spoke English. His English was perfect. My mama had pictures everywhere, on every wall. She said a person who doesn't put up pictures is running away from their own story. Ayo swung her legs a little. Are you running away from your story? Nobody talked to Taiwan like this. Nobody. You said you have something for me, he said, changing the subject like a man who knew how to control a conversation. Ayo unzipped her backpack. She pulled out the ring and set it on the desk between them. It was small, gold, simple, a little worn on the inside edge like someone had held it a lot. Tae-won picked it up slowly, turned it over in his fingers. There was an engraving inside. 2 Korean characters in handwriting he recognized because it was his own. The characters meant to remain. He'd given this ring to Zuena 20 years ago, the night she left him, the night she found out what he really was and decided she couldn't stay. He'd told her to keep it so she'd remember that he wanted her to remain, even though he knew she couldn't. He'd never seen it again until now. Where is your mother? He asked. His voice was too controlled, which meant he was working very hard to keep it that way. Ayo's legs stopped swinging. She died 3 weeks and 4 days ago. Her heart stopped working. The doctor said she didn't know it was weak. She went to sleep and didn't wake up. I was at school when it happened. She said it the way you say something you've had to explain too many times. Flat. Factual. Like if you don't put any feeling into the words, they can't hurt you as much. I'm sorry, Tae-won said. Everyone says that, Ayo said. But nobody can fix it, so I don't know what sorry is supposed to do. Fair point. My mama made me promise, Ayo continued. She used to say it all the time, like it was a rule I had to memorize. She'd say, Ayo, if anything ever happens to me, you find the man whose name sounds like thunder, and you give him back his ring. She said he'd understand. She said he'd know what it meant. Ayo tilted her head. Do you know what it means? Tae-won sat down slowly. I knew your mother a long time ago. I figured. She never talked about you, which is how I knew you were important. Mama only went quiet about things that mattered. This child was 10 years old and already understood more about human nature than most adults. When did she tell you about the ring? Tae-won asked. Lots of times. But the last time was 2 months ago. We were packing because Mrs. Okafor's family was going back to Lagos. Mama was tired a lot then, more than usual. I think she knew something was wrong with her body, even if the doctors didn't. Ayo pulled her backpack closer. She made me promise 3 times. She never made me promise anything 3 times, unless it was really serious. Who is Mrs. Okafor? Mama worked for the Okafor family. Mr. Okafor does something with trade. I don't really understand it. We moved from Lagos to Seoul 2 years ago. Mama said it would be an adventure. She was right. But also it's really cold here, and everyone stares at me like I'm a zoo animal. Tae-won almost smiled. Almost. Where are the Okafors now? Back in Lagos. They left in January. They said I could come with them, but Mama was still here, and I wasn't leaving her. Then Mama died, and Mrs. Okafor said I should come to Lagos, but I told her I had to do something first. I told her I was staying with Mama's friend, Miss Chen. Miss Chen doesn't exist, but Mrs. Okafor doesn't know that. You're 10 years old, and you lied to avoid going to a safe place so you could walk into a building full of strangers to find a man you'd never met. I'm very determined when I promise something, Ayo said with a shrug. Also, I'm good at planning. I looked up every building in Seoul with the name Jong. There were 6. Yours was the tallest. Mama always said, men who are afraid of being forgotten build tall things. So I came here first. Tae-won stared at her. This child had walked across Seoul alone, had lied to adults, had navigated a foreign city in a second language, all to keep a promise to her dead mother. He didn't know what to do with that information. "Are you going to send me away?" Io asked. "No," Tae-won said. The word came out before he'd decided to say it. "Good. Because I'm very tired, and I haven't eaten anything except convenience store bread since yesterday, and I don't know where else to go." That's when Tae-won realized the truth. This child wasn't just here to return a ring. She was here because she had nowhere else to be. If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button. This story is about to get wild. Do-won arranged a room on the 18th floor. It was supposed to be for business guests, but it looked like a fancy hotel room. Clean white sheets, a TV on the wall, a bathroom with towels folded into shapes. Io stood in the doorway and stared. "Is this where I'm sleeping?" "For tonight," Do-won said. He was trying to be professional, but his face showed confusion. Nobody brought children to this building. Ever. "It's very white," Io observed. "Mama would say it looks like a hospital. She didn't like hospitals." Do-won didn't know what to say to that, so he just told her someone would bring food soon, and left. Io sat on the edge of the bed. She put her backpack next to her. Then she pulled out a notebook, purple with star stickers on the cover, and started writing. She wrote down everything that had happened today. Every detail. Because Mama always said if you write things down, you can't forget them later when your brain tries to protect you by making the memories fuzzy. She was on her third page when someone knocked. A woman came in with a tray. Rice, soup, something that looked like fried chicken but wasn't exactly. The woman set it down, smiled nervously, and left without saying anything. Io ate everything. She was hungrier than she'd realized. Then she lay down on the bed, still wearing her shoes, and stared at the ceiling. The room was too quiet, too white, too empty. Nothing like the small apartment she'd shared with Mama, where the walls were covered in photos and postcards, and Mama's drawings. Where it always smelled like whatever Mama was cooking. Where Mama would sing while she cleaned and tell Io stories about growing up in Nigeria. About Grandma Blessing and Uncle Chidi and the mango tree in their yard that gave the sweetest fruit in the whole neighborhood. Io closed her eyes. She didn't cry. She'd done all her crying in the first week. Now she was just tired. Tae-won sat in his office until the sun went down. He held the ring up to the light. Read the engraving again. To remain. 20 years ago, Zuena Mbele had walked into his life like a storm. She was 24, studying Korean literature at university, working part-time at a cafe near his office. He'd gone in for coffee, and she'd served him with this bright smile and said, "You look like you need something stronger than coffee, but I'm only allowed to serve beverages." He'd laughed. Actually laughed. He couldn't remember the last time that had happened. They'd talked. He came back the next day. And the next. Within a month, he was in love with her in a way that felt dangerous. She was everything he wasn't. Warm. Open. She believed people were good until they proved otherwise. She saw beauty in things he'd stopped noticing. She made him want to be better than what he was. But he couldn't be better. He was what he was. The head of an organization that operated in shadows, that solved problems with money and pressure, and sometimes worse. He tried to keep it from her, tried to keep those two parts of his life separate. She found out anyway. He still remembered her face when she pieced it together. The way her smile had died. The way she'd looked at him like he'd become a stranger. "I can't do this," she'd said. "I can't love someone who hurts people." "I don't hurt people," he'd said, which was technically true. He gave orders. Other people did the hurting. "That's worse," she'd said. "You don't even have to look them in the eye." She'd left that night. He'd given her the ring and told her he wished she could stay. She'd taken it. She'd cried. And then she'd walked out of his apartment and he'd never seen her again. He hadn't known she was pregnant. The thought made him feel something he didn't have a name for. Something heavy and complicated and too big to fit inside his chest. He had a daughter, a 10-year-old daughter who'd just lost her mother, who'd crossed a city alone to find him, who was currently sleeping 18 floors below him in a room that probably felt nothing like home. He should call someone, a lawyer, child services, someone who knew what to do in situations like this. But he didn't. He just sat there holding the ring until the city lights came on outside and his office filled with shadows. The next morning, Io woke up and forgot where she was. The panic lasted about 5 seconds before her brain caught up. Right. Seoul, the tall building, the man with the ring. She was still here. She got up, used the bathroom, tried to fix her hair, but gave up because she needed Mama's help for that, and Mama wasn't here anymore. She put on the same clothes from yesterday. They were the only ones she had. Someone knocked. A different woman this time, younger, with kind eyes. Mr. Jiang asked if you'd like breakfast. Yes, please, Io said, because Mama raised her to be polite. The woman led her down a hallway, into an elevator, up 3 floors, down another hallway. The building was a maze. Everything looked expensive and cold, and nobody smiled. They stopped at a door. The woman knocked and opened it. Inside was a small kitchen and table. Taiwan sat at the table with a cup of tea and a newspaper. He looked up when Io came in. Good morning, he said. Morning, Io said. She sat down across from him. The woman brought out food. Eggs, toast, cut up fruit, some kind of soup. Way too much for one person. Did you sleep? Taiwan asked. Yes. The bed is very soft. Softer than my bed at home. Mama said soft beds are bad for your back, but I think she just said that because our mattress was old. Taiwan almost smiled again. You can stay here as long as you need to. Io picked up her spoon. How long is that? I don't know yet. Are you my father? The question landed like a bomb in the middle of the table. Taiwan set down his tea very carefully. Why do you ask that? Because Mama's last name was Mbele. My last name is Adeyemi, which was her boyfriend's name before I was born. But he left when I was a baby, and Mama never talked about him. Then she kept a ring from a man she never mentioned, and made me promise to find him if she died. And you looked at me yesterday, like you were doing math in your head. So I figured, maybe you're my father, and nobody told me. This child was terrifyingly smart. I think I might be, Taiwan said, but we'd need to confirm that. Like with a test. Yes, Io ate some eggs. Okay, that makes sense. Mama was always very logical about things. She paused. If you are my father, does that mean I'm supposed to live with you now? That depends on a lot of things. Like what? Like what you want. Like what the law says. Like whether I'm the kind of person who should be raising a child. Are you? Taiwan looked at this little girl with cornrows and yellow beads, who asked questions like arrows, aimed straight at the truth. I don't know, he said honestly. I've never tried before. Mama said the people who admit they don't know things are smarter than people who pretend they know everything. Your mother was a wise woman. I know, Io said. Her voice got quieter. I miss her a lot. I'm sorry I never got to say goodbye to her. She probably wouldn't have let you anyway. She was pretty stubborn. When she decided something, that was it. No changing her mind. They ate in silence for a while. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was just 2 people sitting with the weight of everything they didn't know yet. Then Io said, Can I ask you something? Yes. Do you do bad things? Taiwan could have lied, should have lied. But something about those eyes, Zuena's eyes, made lying feel impossible. I run a business that operates in complicated ways, he said carefully. Some people would say the things I do are bad. I would say they're necessary. That's what villains say in movies. I know. But you're not trying to take over the world or anything, right? No. And you're not hurting kids or puppies. Definitely not. Io thought about this. Okay. Mama always said people aren't all good or all bad. She said everyone's a mix, and the important thing is whether you're trying to be more good than bad. Am I trying to be more good than bad? I don't know yet. I just met you yesterday. She picked up her toast. But you didn't send me away, and you gave me food and a bed, so that's a good start. Taewon realized in that moment that he was being judged by a 10-year-old, and somehow that felt more important than any business deal he'd ever made. Later that morning, a woman arrived. She wore a practical gray suit and carried a tablet and introduced herself as Oh Jisoo from Child Welfare Services. Io sat on the couch in Taewon's office, swinging her legs, while Oh Jisoo asked her questions. Do you feel safe here? Yes. Has anyone threatened you or made you uncomfortable? No, everyone's been really quiet and nervous, but not mean. Do you understand what's happening? Io stopped swinging her legs. My mama died. I don't have anywhere to go. This man might be my father. You're here to decide if I should stay with him or go somewhere else. Oh, Jisoo made a note on her tablet. That's correct. How do you feel about that? Scared, Io said honestly. But I've been scared since Mama died, so it's not a new feeling. Do you want to stay here? Io looked at Taewon, who stood by the window pretending not to listen. I don't know him yet, but Mama sent me here. She must have had a reason. Oh Jisoo asked more questions, about school, about the Uka Force, about what Io liked to do, about whether she had other family. Io answered everything clearly, precisely, like she was taking a test she'd studied for. After 30 minutes, Oh Jisoo closed her tablet and turned to Taewon. I need to speak with you privately. They went into the hallway. Oh Jisoo didn't waste time. That child has been through something terrible, and she's holding herself together with pure willpower. She needs stability, therapy, a normal routine. Can you provide that? Yes, Taewon said. I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Jung. I know who you are. I know what you do. And I don't care how much money or influence you have. If I think for 1 second that child is in danger, physical or emotional, I will remove her so fast your head will spin. Do we understand each other? Nobody talked to Taewon like this. Nobody except, apparently, women who worked in child welfare and 10-year-olds with yellow beads. We do, he said. Good. I'll need documentation, proof of paternity, background checks, home inspection. This is going to be a process, and it's not going to be fast. I'll cooperate with everything. Oh Jisoo studied his face like she was looking for cracks. She's not a business deal. She's a child who just lost her mother. I know. Do you? Because in my experience, men like you are very good at managing things, and very bad at feeling things. Then I'll have to learn, Taewon said. Oh Jisoo's expression softened a tiny bit. That's the right answer. She left. Taewon went back inside. Io was still on the couch, now looking at her notebook. She's intense, Ao said. Yes. I like her. She reminds me of my teacher, Mrs. Park. Very no-nonsense. We're going to need to do a test to confirm that I'm your father. When? This week. And then what? Then we figure out what happens next. Io closed her notebook. Mama used to say life is just a bunch of what happens next stuck together. She said the trick is not to worry about the whole chain, just the next link. What's your next link? I guess it's staying here and seeing if you're really my dad. She looked up at him. What's yours? Taewon thought about it. Making sure you're okay. That's a good link, Io said. The test came back 3 days later. 99.9% match. Jang Tae-wan was Ayo Mirai Adeyemi's biological father. Do-hwan brought the results to Tae-wan's office. He set the paper down on the desk and waited. Tae-wan read it twice. Then he set it down and stared at it like it might change if he looked long enough. "Congratulations," Do-hwan said carefully. "You have a daughter." "I know. Do you want me to prepare a statement? The organization will need to know, and there will be questions." "Let them question." Do-hwan hesitated. "Sir, this is going to change things. People will see it as a weakness, something they can exploit. Then they can try." Tae-wan's voice was ice cold. "And they can find out what happens when someone threatens my daughter." It was the first time he'd said it out loud. My daughter. The words felt strange in his mouth. New. Heavy with responsibility he'd never asked for, but couldn't walk away from now. Do-hwan nodded and left. Tae-wan picked up the paper again. 99.9%. He had a daughter, a 10-year-old daughter who liked purple notebooks and asked uncomfortable questions, and had her mother's eyes and her mother's way of seeing straight through him. He'd built an empire. He'd survived wars with rival organizations. He'd stared down prosecutors and politicians and men twice his size who'd wanted him dead. None of that had prepared him for this. He found Ayo in the small library on the 20th floor. She was sitting in a chair too big for her, reading a book in Korean, her lips moving slightly as she worked through the words. "It's confirmed," he said. "I'm your father." Ayo closed the book. "I know. Mr. Do-hwan told me when he gave me this." She held up a chocolate bar. "He said I might need something sweet for the news. How do you feel?" She thought about it seriously. Weird. Like I just found out I have a whole other piece of my life I didn't know about. But also kind of relieved because at least now I know where I came from. She paused. "How do you feel?" "Terrified," Tae-wan admitted. "Good. Mama said if you're not scared of something important, you're probably not paying attention." They sat there for a moment, father and daughter, both trying to figure out what came next. "Can I ask you something?" Ayo said. "Always. Did you love my mama?" The question knocked the air out of his lungs. "Yes," he said. "Very much." "Why didn't you stay together?" "Because she was good. And I wasn't. And she was smart enough to know that love doesn't fix everything." "Do you think she ever stopped loving you?" Tae-wan looked at this child who was asking him to examine the most painful part of his past. "I don't know. But she kept the ring. That has to mean something." "It means she wanted me to find you," Ayo said, "which means she trusted you, even after everything." She opened her book again. "Mama didn't trust easy. So if she trusted you with me, you must be more good than bad." "I hope so," Tae-wan said quietly. "Me too," Ayo said, "because I don't have anywhere else to go." The words were simple, honest, and they hit Tae-wan like a punch to the chest. This child was his responsibility now, not temporarily, not until someone better came along. Permanently. She was his daughter, and she needed him, and he had no idea what he was doing, but he was going to have to figure it out anyway. "You'll stay here," he said, "with me, for as long as you need. Even if it's forever?" "Even if it's forever." Ayo smiled. It was small, but real. The first real smile he'd seen from her. "Okay," she said, "but I'm going to need help with my hair. I can't do cornrows by myself, and YouTube tutorials only help so much." Tae-wan had faced down dangerous men in back alleys, had negotiated deals worth millions, had survived assassination attempts, and now he was going to have to learn how to braid hair. "I'll figure it out," he said. "Good," Ayo said, and went back to her book. The first real problem came on a Thursday. Ayo had been in the building for 6 days. 6 days of eating meals with Tae-wan, reading books in the library, sleeping in the too-white room that was starting to feel less strange. 6 days of people staring at her in hallways and whispering when they thought she couldn't hear. She was used to people staring. It happened everywhere in Seoul. But this staring felt different, less curious, more calculating, like people were trying to figure out what she meant for them. She was walking back from the library when 3 men in dark suits blocked her path. The one in front smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. It was the kind adults used when they wanted something and were pretending to be friendly to get it. "You're the chairman's guest," he said in English. "I'm his daughter," Io corrected. "Mama always said to state facts clearly so people couldn't twist them later." Right. His daughter. The man's smile got tighter. That must be very sudden for everyone. It's sudden for me, too. I only found out last week. Where's your mother? Dead. The word made all 3 men blink. Good. Io was tired of people dancing around it. Mama was dead. It was a fact. Saying it softer didn't make it hurt less. "I'm sorry," the man said, not sounding sorry at all. "This must be very confusing for you. A strange country. A father you never knew. All these new people." "I'm handling it fine." "Of course you are. You seem like a smart girl." He crouched down to her level. "Smart enough to understand that sometimes people's lives are complicated. Your father has a very important job. Lots of responsibilities. Adding a child into that situation, it could make things difficult for him." Io's stomach went tight. "Are you threatening me?" No, just making conversation." The man stood up. "Just be careful, that's all. This building can be dangerous for people who don't understand how things work." They walked away. Io stood there for a full minute, her heart beating fast. Then she turned around and went straight to Taiwan's office. She didn't knock, just walked in. Taiwan was in a meeting with 4 men in suits. They all stopped talking when she entered. "I need to talk to you," Io said. "Now." The men looked annoyed. Taiwan looked at Io's face and stood up immediately. "We'll continue this later," he said. It wasn't a suggestion. The men left. One of them was the man from the hallway. He didn't look at Io on his way out. "What happened?" Taiwan asked. Io told him everything, word for word. She'd gotten good at remembering conversations exactly. Mama used to quiz her on it, said it was an important skill. By the time she finished, Taiwan's face had gone very still. Not angry still. Dangerous still. "His name is Kang Min-seok," Taiwan said quietly. "He's been with the organization for 12 years. He's ambitious, and he doesn't like change. He doesn't like me. It's not about you. It's about what you represent. Proof that I have something I care about besides the business. Something that could be used against me. So, I'm a weakness? No." Taiwan's voice was firm. "You're my daughter. There's a difference. He said this building is dangerous. It can be. Which is why starting tomorrow, you'll have security when you're moving around. Someone will always be nearby. Like a bodyguard? Like protection." Io didn't like the sound of that. "I don't want to be scared all the time. You won't be. But I need you to be smart. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't talk to people you don't know. And if anyone ever makes you uncomfortable, you come find me immediately. What are you going to do about Mr. Kang? Handle it?" "How?" Taiwan looked at her for a long moment. "Do you really want to know?" Io thought about it. Did she want to know what her father did to people who threatened his family? What kind of handling happened in a building like this? "No," she said finally. "I just want him to leave me alone." "He will," Taiwan said. And something in his voice made Io believe him completely. That night, Kang Min-seok was transferred to the Busan office, 300 kilometers away, effective immediately. The message was clear. Touch the chairman's daughter, and you disappear. Nobody bothered Ao after that, but the bodyguard appeared the next morning anyway. His name was Jun. He was young, maybe 25, with kind eyes and shoulders like a wall. He smiled when he introduced himself and spoke English well enough to have actual conversations. I used to work stadium security, he told Ayo as he walked her to breakfast. Protecting one 10-year-old is way easier than protecting 20,000 screaming concert fans. Did anyone ever try to hurt them? Sometimes. People get crazy at concerts, throw things, try to rush the stage. My job was to stop them before they became a problem. Is that going to happen to me? People rushing me? Jun laughed. No, absolutely not. Your dad just wants to make sure you're safe. That's all. Do you think I'm in danger? Jun's smile faded a little. I think your dad loves you, and worried parents sometimes overprotect. Better safe than sorry, right? Ayo decided she liked Jun. He talked to her like a person, not like a kid who needed things explained in baby words. School was the next problem. Oh, Jisoo came back with papers and plans and that no-nonsense expression that meant business. You've missed a week and a half, she said to Ayo. We need to get you back in class. I can catch up, Ayo said. I'm good at school. I'm sure you are. But there's also the social aspect to consider. You need routine. Friends. Normal kid things. I don't really have friends here. Everyone at my old school thought I was weird. Why? Because I like reading more than playing, and I ask too many questions, and I'm the only black kid in most of my classes. Oh, Jisoo wrote something on her tablet. Kids can be thoughtless. It's okay. Mama said being different just means you're interesting. Your mama was right. Oh, Jisoo turned to Taiwan. I've contacted the school. They're aware of the situation. They've agreed to provide extra support for the transition. What kind of support? Taiwan asked. Counseling, academic tutoring if needed. A teacher designated as her point person if she needs to talk. I don't need counseling, Ayo said. You lost your mother 3 weeks ago, Oh Jisoo said gently. Talking to someone might help. Talking won't bring her back. The room went quiet. Oh Jisoo's expression softened. No, it won't. But it might make carrying the weight a little easier. Ayo looked at her hands. She didn't want to talk about Mama with a stranger. Didn't want to explain how sometimes she forgot for 5 whole minutes that Mama was gone, and then she'd remember, and it felt like falling off a building all over again. Didn't want to admit that she still expected Mama to walk through the door and say this whole thing was a mistake. I'll think about it, Ayo said, which was what you said when you meant no, but didn't want to argue. Oh, Jisoo seemed to understand. Fair enough. You start back on Monday. Your father will handle the transportation. After she left, Tae-won sat across from Ayo. Do you want to talk? Not to a counselor. To me. About what? About how you're doing. Really doing. Ayo picked at a thread on her sweater. I'm sad all the time. But if I think about it too much, I can't do anything else. So I just keep moving forward and hope eventually it hurts less. That's very mature of you. Mama said I had an old soul. I think that's just a nice way of saying I worry too much. You're allowed to worry. You're allowed to be sad. You don't have to be brave every second. Yes, I do, Ayo said quietly. Because if I stop being brave, I'll fall apart. And I can't fall apart because there's nobody left to pick up the pieces except me. Tae-won looked at her like his heart was breaking. That's not true anymore. I'm here. You didn't even know I existed 2 weeks ago. That doesn't change the fact that you're my daughter. And I'm not going anywhere. Ayo wanted to believe him. She really did. But everyone left eventually. Daddy Adeyemi left when she was a baby. Mama left even though she didn't want to. The Okafors left. Everyone always left. Okay, she said, because she didn't know what else to say. But she didn't really believe it yet. Monday morning came too fast. Jun drove her to school in a black car that probably cost more than most people's houses. Ayo wore her uniform, navy skirt and white shirt, her backpack stuffed with notebooks, and the pencil case Mama had bought her last year with little planets on it. You nervous? June asked. A little. I've been gone almost 2 weeks. Everyone's going to have questions. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to. Mrs. Park says avoiding questions makes people more curious. Mrs. Park sounds wise, but also maybe doesn't understand 10-year-olds. Io smiled despite herself. The school was big and modern, full of kids from everywhere. Io had liked that about it when she first started. She wasn't the only foreigner, but she was usually the only black kid in her grade, which meant she stood out even when she didn't want to. Jun walked her to the front office. The secretary, Mrs. Kim, smiled too brightly like people did when they felt sorry for you. Io, welcome back. We've all been thinking about you. Thank you. Your teacher is expecting you. Room 304. Do you remember where that is? Yes. Wonderful. If you need anything at all, you just come find me. Okay? Okay. Jun waited until she was inside the building before he left. Io walked down the familiar hallways, past the art room where she'd painted a sunset last month, past the library where she'd read 23 books since September, past the bathroom where Sarah Chen had told her last year that her hair looked like ramen noodles, and Ao had cried for an hour. Room 304. Mrs. Park stood at the front of class, writing something on the board. She turned when Ao knocked. Ao. Her smile was warm and real. Mrs. Park was strict but fair, and she'd never treated Ao like she was fragile. Come in, come in. 23 faces turned to stare. Ao recognized all of them. Emma, David, Min Jun, Sarah, Jessica. All the kids she'd spent the last 2 years sitting next to without really belonging to. Everyone, Io's back with us. Let's make sure she feels welcome. A few kids said hi. Most just stared. Io slid into her seat by the window. Emma, who sat next to her, leaned over. Where were you? Everyone said your mom died. Straight to the point. No warm-up. Classic Emma. She did, Io said quietly. Oh, that's sad. Emma didn't sound mean, just matter of fact. Are you living with your dad now? Yes. I didn't know you had a dad. Neither did I until recently. Emma's eyes went wide. Wait, seriously? That's like something from a drama. Emma, Mrs. Park said sharply. Questions can wait. Right now, we're doing math. Math was fine. Io liked math. Numbers didn't care about your feelings. They just were what they were. She worked through the problems while Mrs. Park lectured about fractions and decimals and conversions. At lunch, Io sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria like always. She pulled out the lunch Jun had packed, rice and vegetables, and some kind of meat she didn't recognize but tasted good. Sarah Chen and 2 other girls walked past, then stopped. Is it true your dad is rich? Sarah asked. Io looked up. I don't know. Maybe. Emma said you came to school in a fancy car with a driver. It wasn't a driver. It was security. The girls exchanged looks. Why do you need security? I don't know. My dad wants to make sure I'm safe. That's weird, one of the other girls said. Yeah, Ao agreed. It is. Sarah tilted her head. My mom said your mom used to work for the Aka Force, like as a maid. There it was. The thing Io had been waiting for. The reminder that she didn't belong. That her mama had been the help, not the helped. She was a housekeeper, Io said, and she was really good at it. She was good at lots of things. So how does a housekeeper's kid end up with a rich dad? Sarah's voice had that edge to it, the one that meant she was looking for ammunition. Io set down her chopsticks. My mama knew my dad a long time ago, before I was born. Then they split up and she didn't tell him about me. She had her reasons. When she died, I went to find him. That's it. That's the whole story. That's crazy. Yeah, it is. Sarah looked like she wanted to say more, but Mrs. Park appeared out of nowhere like she had a sixth sense for drama. Girls, is there a problem here? No, Mrs. Park, Sarah said quickly. Good. Then I suggest you find somewhere else to eat." They left. Mrs. Park sat down across from Io. "You okay?" "Yes. Sarah can be unkind sometimes." "I know. She's been like that since I got here." "Want me to talk to her?" "No. That'll just make it worse." Mrs. Park sighed. "You're probably right. But if it gets bad, you tell me. Understood?" "Understood." Mrs. Park patted her shoulder and walked away. Io went back to her lunch. She'd handled it. She was fine. Everything was fine. Except it wasn't. Because now everyone would be talking about her. The girl whose mom died. The girl who suddenly had a rich dad. The weird girl who read too much and didn't fit in. She missed Mama so much it physically hurt. If you're feeling for Io right now, you're not alone. Keep watching to see how she handles what comes next. The whispers followed her for the rest of the week. Kids staring in hallways. Questions disguised as concern. Teachers being extra gentle like she might break if they spoke too loud. By Friday, Io was exhausted. June picked her up at 3:30. She climbed into the back seat and slumped down. "Bad day?" June asked. "Long day. Want to talk about it?" "Not really." "Fair enough." They drove in silence for a while. Then June said, "You know what I do when I've had a rough week?" "What?" "I get tteokbokki from this street cart near Hongdae, best in Seoul. Spicy enough to make you forget your problems for at least 10 minutes. I've never had tteokbokki." Jun looked at her in the rearview mirror, like she'd just said she'd never breathed air. "We're fixing that right now." He changed directions. 20 minutes later, they were parked near a busy street corner. The cart was small, run by an older woman with quick hands and a loud voice. Jun ordered in Korean, paid, and came back with a container of bright red rice cakes and sauce. "Careful, it's hot. Both temperature and spice." Io tried one. Her mouth immediately caught fire, her eyes watered, and it was delicious. "Good, right?" Jun said, grinning. "So good," Io managed between gasps. They sat on a bench and ate the whole thing. People walked past, speaking Korean and laughing and living their normal lives. For 10 minutes, Io forgot about school and whispers and being the weird kid. Jun's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his expression changed. "It's your dad. I should probably tell him where we are." "Are we in trouble?" "Maybe a little." Taiwan was not happy when they got back. He was standing in his office with his arms crossed, and that expression that meant someone was about to get lectured. "You were supposed to bring her straight back," he said to Jun. "Yes, sir. But she had a hard week and I thought she could use a break." A break that involved leaving the planned route and stopping in a public area without security backup. "It was tteokbokki, sir, from a street cart. Nothing dangerous." Everything is potentially dangerous when you're responsible for someone's safety. Io stepped forward. "Don't be mad at Jun. I wanted to go." He was trying to be nice. Taewon's expression softened slightly when he looked at her. "I'm not mad. I'm concerned. There are protocols for a reason." "What protocols? I'm just a kid. Nobody cares about me." "I care about you, which means other people might try to use you to get to me, which means we have to be careful. So I'm supposed to go straight from school to here and never do anything normal?" "That's not what I said. It's what it sounds like." They stared at each other. Io's chest felt tight. She didn't want to fight. She was too tired to fight. But she also didn't want to live in a cage made of safety and fear. "I just wanted tteokbokki," she said quietly. Taiwan's shoulders dropped. "I know. And I'm sorry. This is all new for me too. I'm trying to keep you safe, but I don't want to make you feel trapped." "Then what do we do?" "We figure it out together. Make a plan. Routes you can take. Places you can go. With proper security." "That sounds boring." "Welcome to having a parent who worries." Io almost smiled. Mama worried too, but she also let me ride the subway by myself when I turned 9. Seoul subway is safer than most, but still, 9 seems young. She said I needed to be independent, that she wouldn't always be there to hold my hand. Taewon's face did something complicated. She was preparing you. For what? For this. For having to figure things out on your own. Ayo hadn't thought about it that way, but maybe he was right. Maybe Mama knew something was coming. Maybe all those lessons about being brave and independent and looking people in the eye were for exactly this moment. Can I still get tteokbokki sometimes? Ayo asked. Yes, with Jun, with a route plan. And you have to tell me before you go. Deal. Good. Taewon looked at Jun. You're not in trouble, but next time, text me first. Yes, sir. Jun left. Ayo started to follow, but Taewon stopped her. How was school, really? Ayo shrugged. Kids are nosy. Teachers are too nice. I don't fit in. Did you fit in before? Not really. But at least before, I was just the weird foreign kid. Now I'm the weird foreign kid with the dead mom and the mysterious rich dad. It's a lot of labels. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. It's not yours either. They stood there in the expensive office, with the view of Seoul and the weight of everything unspoken between them. I'm glad Jun took you for tteokbokki, Taewon said finally. Even if he should have told me first. You deserve normal things. Happy things. Mama used to say, happiness is something you have to practice, like piano or math. You have to do it regularly, or you forget how. Then we should practice, Taewon said. Starting this weekend, what do you want to do? Ayo thought about it. Can we go somewhere with less buildings? Maybe somewhere green? I know a place. Saturday morning, they drove out of the city. June drove. Taewon sat in front. Ayo sat in back, watching Seoul disappear behind them. Buildings gave way to smaller buildings, gave way to trees and hills and sky. They ended up at a temple in the mountains. Not a tourist temple, Taewon explained. A quiet one. He'd come here sometimes when he needed to think. The air smelled like pine and incense. Stone steps led up through the trees. A monk in gray robes nodded at them as they passed. Everything was quiet in a way that felt intentional, like the quiet had been built into the place on purpose. Mama would have loved this, Ayo said. She did, Taewon said. I brought her here once. She said it felt like the world's lungs, a place where everything breathed slower. You remember that? I remember everything about her. They walked the paths. Taewon showed her the main hall with the golden Buddha statue, the stone pagoda that was 300 years old, the garden where monks grew vegetables and herbs. Ayo found a bench and sat down. Taewon sat next to her. Can I ask you something? Ayo said. Always. Do you wish Mama had told you about me, before? Taewon was quiet for a long time. Yes and no. Yes, because I missed 10 years of knowing you. No, because I understand why she didn't. I wasn't a good man back then. I'm still not really. But I'm trying to be better. Why? Because you deserve a father who's more than what I was. What if I like what you are? You don't know what I am yet. Then tell me. Taewon looked at her, really looked at her. I run an organization that operates outside normal rules. We handle problems that can't be solved through legal channels. Sometimes that means bending laws, sometimes breaking them. I've hurt people. Not with my own hands, but through orders I've given. I've made choices that kept me up at night, and I've built a life where power matters more than kindness. It sounds lonely. It is. Is that why Mama left? Partly. She saw what I was becoming, and she knew she couldn't save me from it. So she saved herself instead. And she saved you by keeping you away from all of this. But I'm here now. Yes. And that changes everything. A bell rang somewhere in the temple. 3 slow tones that echoed through the trees. Mama used to say everyone has darkness and light inside them, Ayo said. She said the important thing is which one you feed. Which one do you think I feed? I think you're trying to feed the light now, even if the darkness is still there. Taiwan looked at this 10-year-old who'd lost everything and still managed to see good in him. You're very wise for someone so young. Mama said that too, right before she told me to stop overthinking and just be a kid sometimes. Good advice. They sat there until the sun started to set. Then they walked back down the mountain to where Jun waited with the car. On the drive home, Io fell asleep in the back seat. Taiwan turned around to look at her. Her head rested against the window. Her mouth was slightly open. She looked small and young and completely vulnerable. He'd spent 20 years building walls, creating distance between himself and anything that could hurt him. And now, here was this child who'd walked through every wall like they were made of paper, carrying nothing but a ring and a promise. She'd changed everything without even trying, and he realized, somewhere between the city and the mountains, that he didn't want to go back to who he'd been before. That having something to protect, someone to care about, made him feel more human than he'd felt in decades. "She's good for you," Jun said quietly from the driver's seat. "I know," Taiwan said. "Are you scared?" "Terrified." "Good. Means you're doing it right." When they got back to the building, Taiwan carried Io upstairs. She woke up briefly when he set her on the bed. "We're home?" she mumbled. "We're home. This is home now? If you want it to be." She smiled, already falling back asleep. "Okay, home." Taiwan pulled a blanket over her and turned off the light. In the doorway, he paused and looked back. His daughter, asleep in a room that was starting to have her things in it, her purple notebook on the desk, her shoes by the door, her jacket on the chair. She was making the space hers, making his life hers, and he was letting her. For the first time in 20 years, Jiang Taiwan felt like he had something worth protecting that wasn't made of money or power. He had family. The word felt strange and new and terrifying and perfect. He closed the door quietly and went to his own room, but before he did, he took out his phone and did something he'd never done before. He took a picture of her door with her shoes sitting outside it, his first photograph in 20 years. A beginning. The call came on a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after the temple visit. Taiwan was in a meeting when Do-hwan knocked and entered without waiting for permission. That alone meant trouble. Do-hwan never interrupted meetings. "Sir, we have a situation." The 4 men at the table went quiet. Tae-won stood, immediately. "Excuse me." In the hallway, Do-hwan's face was grim. "The school called. Io's missing." The world tilted sideways. "What do you mean missing?" "She was in class until lunch. She went to the bathroom. She never came back. They've searched the building. She's not there." Tae-won's blood went cold. "Where's Jun?" "He was outside in the car. She was supposed to be in the building, safe." "Call him, now. Then get security footage from every camera within 6 blocks of that school. I want her found in the next 30 minutes, or someone's going to regret it." Do-hwan was already on his phone. Tae-won went to his office, his mind running through possibilities. Had someone taken her? Was this a message from a rival organization? Had she run away? Was she hurt somewhere? Scared? Alone? His hands shook. He pressed them flat on his desk and forced himself to think clearly. Io was smart, resourceful. She wouldn't just disappear without reason, unless someone had grabbed her. Unless someone had decided the best way to hurt Jiang Tae-won was to take the one thing he'd let himself care about. His phone rang. "Jun, talk to me," Tae-won said. "I found her." The relief was so intense Tae-won had to sit down. "Where?" "Bukchon, at a Hanok house on the north side. She's okay. But you should come." "I'm on my way." The drive took 12 minutes. Tae-won spent all 12 imagining worst-case scenarios. Jun was standing outside a traditional Hanok house. the kind with curved roof tiles and wooden doors. Old, well-maintained, expensive. "She's inside," John said, "with an old woman. They're having tea." "Tea. Yes, sir." Tae-won walked through the door. The interior was traditional Korean, beautiful in a quiet way. And there, sitting on a cushion at a low table, was Ayo. Across from her sat a woman in her 70s, with silver hair and kind eyes. Ayo looked up. "Hi, I'm sorry I left school. Do you have any idea how worried I was?" Tae-won's voice came out sharper than he intended. "I know. I'm sorry. But I had to come here." "Why?" The old woman stood and bowed slightly. "I am Song Hye-jin. I knew Zuena many years ago. Ayo came to find me." Tae-won looked between them. "I don't understand." Ayo pulled out a folded piece of paper from her backpack. "I found this in Mama's things. It's a letter. She wrote it before she died. She said if anything happened to her, I should bring it to Mrs. Song. So I did." "You left school, crossed the city alone, to deliver a letter?" "I promised Mama I would, the same way I promised to give you the ring." Tae-won felt something twist in his chest. This child, and her promises. "May I see the letter?" he asked. Ayo looked at Mrs. Song, who nodded. Ayo handed it over. The letter was in Zuena's handwriting. He recognized it immediately, the careful loops and curves. It read, "Hyejin, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Take care of my girl if you can. Tell her about the mango trees and the way Lagos smells after rain. Tell her about her grandmother who sang hymns while cooking. Tell her about the parts of her story I couldn't give her because I was too busy surviving to remember to pass them down. And tell her I loved her more than anything, more than safety, more than fear, more than the complicated mess I made of everything else. She is the one thing I got completely right. Love, Zuena." Tae-won read it twice, his vision blurred. "Your mother and I were friends when she first came to Seoul," Mrs. Song said gently. "Before she met you. We lost touch over the years, but she found me again 6 months ago. She knew she was sick before the doctors did. She came to prepare things, to make sure Ayo would have pieces of her past if the worst happened." "Why didn't you come forward when she died?" Tae-won asked. "Because Zuena's instructions were clear. Wait for Ayo to find you first. If she came here, I would know she was ready to learn about her mother's life." Ayo sat very still, her eyes red but tearless. "Mrs. Song has pictures of Mama when she was young, before me, before everything got complicated." Mrs. Song brought out a photo album, page after page of Zuena smiling, laughing, living a life Tae-won had only known a small part of. Zuena at a university festival. Zuena at a cafe with friends. Zuena in a hanbok, grinning at the camera like she'd just won something. And there, near the end, a photo of Zuena and Tae-won together. He looked younger, happier, less like a man made of ice. She was looking at him like he'd hung the moon. "You loved her," Ayo said quietly. "I did? She loved you too. I can tell by how she's looking at you. Not enough to stay." "Maybe she loved me more," Ayo said. "Maybe she knew I needed her to choose me instead of you. And she did." The words hurt because they were true. Zuena had chosen their daughter's safety over everything else, had walked away from the man she loved to give Ayo a life that wasn't tangled up in darkness and danger. And now, here Ayo was anyway, right in the middle of it. "I should have been there," Tae-won said. "For both of you. You didn't know I existed. I should have fought harder to keep her. Should have been better. Should have been someone she could stay with." Ayo looked at him with those two wise eyes. "You can't change the past. Mama used to say that. She said you can only decide what you do with right now. What do I do with right now? You forgive yourself, and you be my dad, the best way you know how." Mrs. Song smiled. "She sounds just like Zuena." They stayed for an hour. Mrs. Song told stories, About Zuena's terrible cooking when she first arrived in Korea. About the time she tried to make kimchi and accidentally made it so spicy even the Korean students couldn't eat it. About her laugh that could fill a room. About the way she cried at sad movies and pretended she wasn't. Ayo absorbed every word like she was collecting precious stones. When they finally left, Mrs. Song hugged Ayo tight. "Come back anytime. I have more stories, and your mother would want you to know all of them." "I will," Ayo promised. In the car, Taiwan turned to face her. "You can't disappear like that again. Do you understand? I thought something terrible had happened." "I left a note in my desk. Didn't the school find it?" "What did it say?" "Gone to keep a promise. Back soon. Tell my dad I'm safe." Despite everything, Tae-won almost laughed. "That's not how this works. You can't just leave notes and disappear. Mama did it all the time when she had errands. She'd leave sticky notes on the fridge. You're 10. She was an adult. I used the subway. I was careful. I remembered everything Jun taught me about being aware of my surroundings. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is, you scared me half to death." Ayo's expression softened. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I just had to keep my promise. I know, and I understand that. But next time, you tell me first. We'll go together." "Together?" "You're not alone anymore, Ayo. You don't have to do everything by yourself. That's what having a parent means." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay. Together." But the trouble wasn't over. 2 days later, Oh Jisoo showed up unannounced. Her expression was serious. "We need to talk," she said. They sat in Taiwan's office. Ayo was in school, actual school this time, with Jun stationed outside and explicit instructions not to leave the building. "I received a complaint," Oh Jisoo said. "Anonymous, claiming that Ayo is being kept in an unsafe environment, that she's surrounded by criminals, that she disappeared from school and no one knew where she was. She went to visit a family friend, without permission, without supervision, a 10-year-old child crossing Seoul alone. She left a note that the school didn't find until after they'd called me in a panic." Oh Jisoo set her tablet down. "Mr. Jung, I'm on your side. I believe you care about that little girl, but caring isn't enough. She needs structure, boundaries, consistent supervision. She's independent. Her mother raised her that way. Her mother is gone, and now she's your responsibility, which means you need to actually parent her, not just provide for her." The words stung because they were accurate. Taiwan had given Ayo safety, food, shelter. But parenting was more than that. It was knowing where she was every moment, setting rules and enforcing them, being present not just physically, but emotionally. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "I want you to create real structure, consistent schedules, clear rules, and I want you to consider that maybe raising her in a building full of your organization's operations isn't the best environment. This is my home. Is it? Or is it your headquarters that happens to have a residential floor?" Tae-won didn't have an answer for that. "Think about it," Oh Jisoo said. "I'll be back next week for a follow-up. And Mr. Jang, that anonymous complaint came from someone who knows details about your organization, someone inside, which means not everyone is happy about Ayo being here." She left. Taiwan sat alone in his office, the weight of it all pressing down. Someone in his own organization had tried to use Ayo against him, had filed a complaint hoping she'd be taken away. And Oh Jisoo was right. This building, this life, it wasn't a home. It was a fortress. And fortresses were for war, not for raising children. That night, he did something he hadn't done in years. He went to see an old friend. Park Sungmin lived in a quiet neighborhood in Seongbuk-dong. He'd worked with Tae-won decades ago, back when they were both young and hungry and stupid. But Sungmin had gotten out, had married, had 3 kids, had chosen a different life. They sat on Sungmin's small balcony drinking tea while his family slept inside. "You look terrible," Sungmin said. "I have a daughter." Sungmin nearly dropped his cup. "Since when?" "She's 10. I just found out a month ago. Her mother died. She came to find me." Wow, that's huge. "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying, but I keep getting it wrong." "Welcome to parenting. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just guessing and hoping we don't mess up too badly. How do you do it? Balance everything?" Sungmin laughed. "I don't balance. I gave up balance years ago. I just try to show up, be present, listen when they talk, apologize when I screw up. That's it. That's the whole secret." "That's it?" "That's it. Kids don't need perfect. They need someone who tries." Taiwan looked out at the quiet street. "I'm thinking about moving, getting a real home, away from the business. Good. Kids need space to be kids, not space to tiptoe around their parents' complicated life. What if I can't do it? What if I'm too broken to be what she needs? Then you'll figure it out anyway. Because that's what parents do. We're all broken. We all have pasts. But we show up for our kids anyway." Taewon went home feeling slightly less lost. The next morning, he asked Io to have breakfast with him. Real breakfast, not rushed breakfast. He'd asked the kitchen to make pancakes because June mentioned Io liked them. "I've been thinking," Taewon said as she drowned her pancakes in syrup. "This building isn't really a home, is it?" Io looked up. "It's okay." "But it's not home," she shrugged. "Home was wherever Mama was. I don't know what it is anymore." "What if we made a new home? You and me, a real apartment, with rooms that aren't all white, with space for your things, with pictures on the walls." Her eyes went wide. "Really? Really? We can look at places this weekend. You can help choose. Can it have a balcony?" "Mama always wanted a balcony." "It can have whatever you want." Io smiled, really smiled. "Okay, that sounds good. But there have to be rules, real rules, about school, about telling me where you're going, about safety." "Like what?" "Like no more disappearing, like checking in, like Jun, or I need to know where you are always." "That sounds boring." "Probably. But it's how we keep you safe." "Fine. But I get to decorate my own room." "Deal." They shook on it like a business agreement, which, in a way, it was. An agreement to try, to build something new together. That weekend they looked at apartments, big ones, small ones, modern ones, traditional ones. Io rejected the first 3 for various reasons. Too gray, too high up, smelled weird. The 4th one was in Hanam-dong. 3 bedrooms, natural light, a balcony with a view of the river. The walls were cream-colored instead of white. The kitchen was big enough to actually cook in. "This one," Io said immediately. "You sure?" "Positive. It feels right." Taewon signed the papers that afternoon. Moving day was chaos. Io didn't have much. Her clothes, her books, her purple notebook, the photos from Mrs. Song. But Taewon had furniture delivered. A bed for her room, a desk, bookshelves, a couch for the living room, a kitchen table. June helped set everything up, while Io directed like a tiny general. "The desk goes by the window. I need good light for homework. The bed should face the door. Mama said, you should always see who's coming into your room." By evening, the apartment looked lived in. Not perfect, not designer ready, but real. Io stood in the middle of the living room and spun in a circle. "It's ours." "It's ours," Taewon agreed. "We need pictures, though, for the walls." "We will. We'll take them. Build memories worth photographing." "Can we start now?" She pulled out a camera, a small digital one that Mrs. Song had given her. "Say cheese." Taewon, who never smiled for photos, who never took photos, smiled. Io snapped the picture and checked the screen. Perfect. Our first official family photo in our new home. She was right. It was perfect. not because they looked perfect, but because it was real. That night, after Ayo was asleep in her new room, Taewon sat on the balcony and called Do-hwan. "I'm stepping back," he said. "Sir?" "Not retiring, but stepping back. I need to be present for Ayo, which means less time at the office. You'll handle day-to-day operations. I'll consult on major decisions." Do-hwan was quiet for a moment. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." "She's changed you?" "I know. It's good. This version of you is better. Don't get sentimental on me, Do-hwan. Wouldn't dream of it, sir." Life settled into a rhythm. School days and homework, dinners at the kitchen table where Ayo talked about her day, and Taewon actually listened. Weekends exploring Seoul, museums, parks, the bookstore where Ayo could spend hours browsing. Jun became a fixture in their lives, not just security. Family, almost. He taught Ayo taekwondo basics, helped with her Korean homework, made terrible jokes that she pretended not to find funny. Mrs. Song visited often, bringing stories and photos and sometimes food. She taught Ayo how to cook jollof rice the way Zuena used to make it. The first attempt was a disaster. The second was better. By the fifth try, it tasted like home. School got easier, not because the kids stopped being nosy, but because Ayo stopped caring as much what they thought. She had a home now, a family. That was enough. Sarah Chen tried to start drama once more, commenting loudly about people who bought their way into everything. Ayo had looked at her and said, "You're right. Money makes things easier. But it didn't bring my mama back. So maybe think about that before you decide I've got it good." Sarah hadn't bothered her since. Mrs. Park pulled Ayo aside one day after class. "You're doing really well, better than I expected, honestly." "Thanks, I think." "I mean it. You've been through something terrible, and you're still showing up, still trying. That takes strength." "Mama always said strength isn't about not falling down. It's about getting back up after. Your mama was wise." "I know. I really miss her." "I'm sure you do. But I think she'd be proud of how you're handling everything." Ayo smiled. "I hope so." 3 months after Ayo had walked into the Jiang Tower with a ring and a promise, Taewon took her back to the temple in the mountains. They hiked the paths in comfortable silence. The trees were green now. Spring had arrived fully. Everything smelled alive. At the same bench where they'd sat before, Ayo pulled out her purple notebook. "I've been writing to Mama," she said, "in here, telling her about everything. About you, about our home, about school, about how I'm doing." "What do you tell her?" "That I miss her every day. That it still hurts. But that I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. That she made the right choice sending me to you." Taewon's throat felt tight. "I'm glad. Do you think she knew? That you'd be good at this?" "I don't think I'm good at it." "You are, though. You try really hard. You listen. You apologize when you mess up. You show up." She looked at him. "That's all I need. Someone who shows up." "I'll always show up," Taewon said. "I promise. Promises are important." "I know. You taught me that." Ayo leaned against his shoulder. A small gesture. Simple. But it meant everything. "Can I tell you something?" she said. "Always. I think Mama sent me to you, not just because you're my dad, but because she knew you needed me too, that you were lost or empty or something. And she knew I could help fix that." "You think she sent you to save me?" "Maybe. Is that weird?" "No," Taewon said quietly. "I think you're probably right." They sat there until the sun started to set. Then they walked back down the mountain together. Father and daughter. Family. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what we share next. 6 months in, Ayo's room was covered in photos. Her and Taewon at the Han River. Her and Jun at a taekwondo tournament. Her and Mrs. Song making kimchi. Her classmates at a birthday party she'd actually been invited to. Her soccer team, because she'd joined soccer and discovered she was fast. The ring sat on her desk in a small glass box. Not hidden, not forgotten. Just there. A reminder of where she'd come from. Of the promise that had brought her here. One night, Tae-won found her staring at it. "What are you thinking?" he asked. That Mama was really smart. She knew exactly what she was doing with this ring. How so? She knew I'd keep my promise. She knew I'd find you. And she knew that once I did, everything would change. For both of us. She was playing matchmaker from beyond the grave. Basically, very Mama of her. Tae-won picked up the ring, read the engraving again. To remain. "I gave this to her because I wanted her to stay," he said. "But she didn't. She left. But she kept it. Which means part of her wanted to remain, maybe not physically, but in her heart. And she sent you, which means something of her did remain. In you. Do you think she'd be happy? With how things turned out?" Tae-won looked around the room, at the photos, at the evidence of a life being built, at his daughter who was growing up strong and brave and kind, despite everything she'd lost. "Yes," he said. "I think she'd be very happy." Io smiled. "Good, because I am too. Happy, I mean. Not all the time. I still miss her a lot. But more than I'm sad. That's all anyone can ask for. Do you think you'll ever fall in love again? Like you did with Mama?" The question caught him off guard. "I don't know. Maybe. Someday. I think you should. Mama would want you to. She wasn't mean like that, wanting you to be alone forever. What about you? Would you want that?" Io thought about it seriously. If she was nice and didn't try to replace Mama, and liked books, and maybe knew how to braid hair better than you do, then yes. My braiding has gotten better. It's gotten less terrible. That's different. Tae-won laughed. Actually laughed. It still felt new, but less strange than it used to. "I love you," he said. It was the first time he'd said it out loud. Io's eyes went wide. Then she smiled bigger than he'd ever seen. "I love you too. Even though you're kind of awkward, and you work too much, and you still don't have enough pictures in your office. I'm working on it. Work faster. Yes, ma'am." She hugged him. He hugged her back. And for a moment, everything that had been broken felt a little more whole. If this story made you feel something, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear that broken things can be made beautiful again. That family isn't always about blood. It's about showing up. And that sometimes the promises we keep lead us exactly where we need to be. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.